Welcome back, everybody. This is the Better Divorce podcast. And just in case you don't know who I am, I'm your host, Paulette Rigo. I started this podcast about 9 years ago to help people navigate divorce wisely. From contemplation to surviving to now what, it's a battle and we can win it. So today we're going to talk about a little bit of the more transitional period of now what and after. And I'm really excited that I have author Heike Yates with me today. So welcome to the podcast, Heike. So glad you're here.
Paulette, I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Me too. I used to do a little bit of this work with, your spark, your dharma, your purpose, your calling, your longing, or, whatever word you want to call it, right? What does that mean? Because I know myself, I had no idea what the heck that was as a young girl. I thought I knew what I wanted to do, but let's just say I got lost along the way with careers and family. And it wasn't until I was like in my late 40s, 50s, where I said, it's important because if I don't figure this out, I'm going to be miserable. And I also find that a lot of women going through divorce, and men too, don't mean to pick on women there, need to have that reevaluation of that purpose and that spark. So tell me a little bit about why you do what you do and how you got into this work.
You're saying the spark in midlife. I feel that the spark is already there when we're in our 20s and 30s. We just don't call it that because we're so young and vivacious and outgoing and doubt ourselves way less than as we get older. And we feel that we're just doing what we're doing. But as we get older and we are impacted by menopause or divorce or different phases in our lives, like an empty nest, for instance, just to name a few, there's something that we're missing. And I always felt and still feel that way too many women are dimming their light. They're, like you said, their dharma, but what they want, where they want to go, how they want to get there, and what does it look like at the end of the rainbow, so to speak, and what is that can follow. And I thought, the best thing to describe it is to pursue your spark, because the spark is not necessarily to gender, to a certain topic, as if, oh, I'm pursuing my spark in fitness, or I'm pursuing my spark in my career. It is fluid when it comes to that. So the spark can be anything from wanting to knit to taking a big trip to or move somewhere or start a new business. And I started out when I had no desire to do what I do right now. I was a young mom, and I had just left the Foreign Service, where I had a great career as a civil servant, and my goal was to travel the world and do more adventures. And my travel adventure was interrupted. It became the mom adventure, as I like to call it. I met my first husband. We had 2 children. Life was great. I got divorced and has still 2 amazing children. But it put me in a bracket where I needed to figure out how to make money. I moved from a full-time career to a stay-at-home mom with no income other than what my husband brought in. And I had no independence and no freedom. And that feeling was driven by, I need to do something. And a friend of mine took me to a fitness class here in Maryland and said, come on, let's go. We are all new moms. We both have a lot of weight to lose. We're like little doughy and we're young. Let's take that class. And I thought, I'd never, ever in my million years would you find me in an exercise class back then. But I loved it. I loved the community. I loved the exercise part. I loved how easy it was to drop my child at childcare and follow a different path of freedom. And it really lit that spark in me. I wanted to do this and more of this, whatever this was. At this point, I only knew teaching aerobics or learned how to teach aerobics, but I didn't know what was the next step, what could be happening after that. And over the 40 years that I've been in business, I find that every 10 years, I have a new spark. I have a new goal, a new venue, a new something that sparks my interest to pursue that.
I love that how you walk through the questioning of the curiosity of how to do something, and just sort of, I like to call it like scratching the surface. Like if you get a little scratch ticket, you have to, it's always like the mystery of what you're going to find, and uncovering that. And I know the last year and a half for me, I was determined to start delving into other hobbies or interests that I'd put aside on the shelf, right? There are so many times that we maybe have an idea, or like you said, that spark of, oh, that's curious, or I want to do that, or maybe I should do that someday. And then you get to the place, right, Heike, where you're like, isn't today now? And so I said to myself, this year I'm going to learn to play golf. So we got golf clubs, and we joined a club, and I played golf, and I came in first, tied for the member guest fun division. And I thought, I can't believe I'm doing this. This is crazy at the age of 60. So, and then I said, I want to learn to play Mahjong. So bought a set and joined a group, and I'm still not great at it, but I don't really have the attention span for it. Like some of these women sit for 5, 6, 7 hours. I wish I was exaggerating. I'm not. And I'm like, I could do 3, and then I go, okay, I got to get up and move. But I love the way it makes you think, but that was a skill, and it's really a strong mind exercise in thinking. Love it. And then I wanted to learn to play tennis. So took up tennis. I'm not great at that yet, but I'm getting there. And then, of course, who doesn't have to learn to play pickleball, right? That's like the obsession now, the OMG, like big session. So this year I did learn 4 new skills. And as my husband and I sat down, I got an intelligent change, kind of crafting the future, a 10-year, I don't know what to call it, notebook or journal that we're kind of doing together. And of course, the question came with, now what? Like, what's the next thing that we want to learn, right? And what do we want to do? And before I know it, it's exciting to be at this point of our life where, fortunately or unfortunately, however you look at it, our parents have all passed away. So they're not our responsibility anymore. So that's a huge chapter of life too, when you're basically an orphan now. You don't have parents to take care of, and our kids are all at that age, but they're independent. So we're in that sweet spot between marriage and like kids and family, and it's that is that yearning, that curiosity, that calling is getting deeper now than when I was younger. Because when you have kids, it's all with the priority of them, homework, meals, keeping the house clean, sports, activities, and of course running a business and working. So it's exciting, but sometimes when I talk to people, particularly with the work I do, it's overwhelming. Many times I say, what do you love to do? Like, what are your hobbies? What sparks and purpose do you have? And they just say, I don't know. That's a big question and a problem. So when you meet somebody that wants to either read your book or work with you, like, how do you encourage them to rebuild that identity and coming into maybe a deeper sense of who they are as a person that they may have forgotten or lost over time?
I want to hook into what you said just a little earlier about all the wonderful things that you started this year. And you said, oh, I'm not any good at it yet. And you said that several times. And I think this is something that so many of us say. I start something, oh, I'm not any good at this. It doesn't matter how good you
Sure.
are.
Yeah.
There is no measure other than what we think we should do. And that is also, I think, it brings so many women to the point where they don't want to pursue their spark and don't want to pursue allow themselves curiosity, because they're worried that they're not measuring up to whatever the standard is. Instead of saying, let me see, I started playing the saxophone this year again. I don't know how to read music. I have never played an instrument. And my husband said, and I found it under the Christmas tree about 2 years ago. And I said, what is this? A saxophone? And he said, you told me that if you ever wanted to learn an instrument, it would be saxophone. So here is your saxophone. Do as you wish. If you never touch it and we sell it again, totally fine. But you have the opportunity to try it. So, of course, the first year, I played it maybe once, and I had some online lessons, and I doodled around a little bit. And then I was like, I don't know. is this really what I want to do? And so this year, I've had it out 5 times already. And my goal is to learn to play Pink Panther. This is my goal. But when I look at how I'm learning and what the sounds that come out, if I measure this by any means to anybody that plays saxophone, I would put this thing back and sell it right away on eBay. But I'm not. I'm curious to see if I end up playing that Pink Panther theme decently well. And it's actually fun. And the process of actually putting the saxophone together gives me such pleasure. I take it and I fiddle the things in, and then of course I get something wrong and I have to watch the video again of how this works. And just putting it together in my mind, this is part of that pursue your spark journey. You don't have to have an end goal in mind. But something that's, you say, like with me, the saxophone, I had totally forgotten about this. Something way back as a child that you may have thought would be cool to do. I wanted to marry a cowboy when I was young. That was my initial pull to move to the United States, until I learned what a cowboy really is. And it's not the sexy hunka-hunks from Bonanza. So I ditched that version of me being a farmer's wife. But when you think of those two examples, they had an idea of sort of, but nothing really concrete. And I feel when you allow yourself more openness, more curiosity, and not decide of what it could be and how good I will be at it, or maybe in the middle, I may just decide the end of the year, I play my song and then I sell my sax. Could happen too, but allow yourself that freedom to choose as you deem right for you in the process, in the journey. And that's, I think, how you find your spark.
Yes, and you're right. I mean, having been from a long line of perfectionists, obviously I like to do things well, but I don't necessarily have to be perfect at anything. So your point well taken. So far, the enjoyment I've found is just the willingness to put myself out there and to be willing to make the phone call, sign up, take the lesson, show up, meet fun people that are like-minded, that also have those same curiosities. That's really the part that I have found personally enjoyable. It isn't so much the tennis or the pickleball or the golf or the mahjong. It's the intent, the creation, and the feeling I get when I come away from it of, that was fun. That was playful. That was adventurous. That was exciting. It was new. I've always, things have relatively come easy to me, although I'm not an athletic person and I'm not competitive. Back in the day when you had to play sports, I'd be like, oh, you want the ball? You can have it. Like, I wasn't that like, give me the ball person. I was just like, oh, like, my kids are all super competitive and athletic, and they would throw a ball and say, here, mom, catch. And I would duck. Like, don't throw the ball at me, So it's just not in me. It doesn't come innately. I'm not, it just doesn't like thrill me to go, let's go play catch, I can do it. I can suck it up and learn and get better at it. With our grandchildren this year, we were playing that little cup where everybody has a cup and there's a ball and you throw it out of the cup and the next person has to catch it. And I was like, wow, I can actually do this. Like, who the heck am I? I realized, I guess I'm more athletic than I thought. I've always just thought, okay, I don't have that skill. I don't have that skill. I find as we get older, or we grow into this new version, this better, higher version of ourselves, we learn new skills that we can improve upon that we perhaps in the past didn't think we were very good at. Do you find that is that true, or is it just I'm weird?
I think the majority of women doesn't feel like we do, Paulette. They
Okay.
are fearful. They are not as adventurous. They are set
Probably
in their,
true. I get that a lot. Yeah.
they're set in their roles that have been, in my opinion, pressed upon us as women. We're the caregiver. We are the people that always help, but we never take care of ourselves because there's never enough time. And what happens if I take that time, that fear of who will I really be once I discover the new things. If I do, like you said, I love the story with the cup. Who knew that I could catch it? I could balance and I could run and I have it. And it's such an exciting feeling. And so many women are afraid of that feeling, because it puts us, or puts many of us, into a way of not being in control any longer, because it's new territory. I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
Maybe I will, now that I'm afraid and I take time away from the grandkids, as you just mentioned, I feel guilty. I shouldn't spend that time on my own. I should spend this time with the grandkids and not wanting something for me. And I think so many women, and that's the reason why I wrote Pursue Your Spark, is that we need a path that helps us get over those feelings, that helps us set boundaries with ourselves and other people, that we are getting over the fear or dealing with the fear. I'm not a prescriber to, with fear, do it anyways, but there will be days when you're less fearful. When you feel, today I have the guts, I can make this cake that I've been eyeing, and the ingredients were daunting, and oh my God, I'm not a baker, but today is a good day. Where on another day you may be fearful. And so with that, we want to encourage women to step into their new themselves.
Yeah. I love this concept of not seeing it as starting over. I do believe that term is used a lot, right? It's a fresh start. You get to turn the page. It's a new chapter. And although I think sometimes those analogies can be helpful if you're a visual person and you need an analogy, but it can feel almost like you're leaving the past behind, and what you used to be was wrong or bad. It's like still kind of taking what serves you, leaving behind the rest, and remixing it up and creating something not necessarily better, but different, on a more connected level of who you are now and where you're going forward, versus trying to reinvent yourself from the past or starting over, because there tends to be a feeling of abandonment or rejection or failure when it comes to divorce. And I hate to see it that way. Yes, the marriage has ended for whatever reasons, and there are many reasons people divorce, but it isn't necessarily a failure. So I do like how you reframe that. It can be a psychological mindset more than just being curious. It's hard to get over that threshold of the label.
Yeah, when you also think of divorce, I mean, I'm divorced. When we think back, you married that person because you were in love. You didn't marry that person because you hated them. You didn't marry them because you resented them. Because this person at that point had qualities that you admired, adored, that you loved, that you were compatible with. And that was great. But then we all evolve. And my first husband was 17 years older than I was. So there was a big evolution process between the two of us in what we wanted. He was ready to retire. I was ready to start living with the kids being older. Let's go, let's travel. And he was, no, I want to retire. I want to settle down here in Annapolis. And I was just not ready for that. So it's not that I didn't appreciate him as the person as he was, but I had evolved in a different way with different goals. And that ultimately for us was the divorce.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't picture myself retiring at 32.
Yeah, I mean, that would be challenging. And even somebody, in their late 40s or 50s, I mean, everybody's different based on the career you have, too. Sometimes I find what's helpful is also to see it as the next deeper, or like, there are some professions where you have to retire at a certain age. So maybe I'm not doing this version of it, but it's a different version of it. Career-wise, I've had 7, 8, 9 careers. I've lost track. Who cares? Would I want to have some of the old careers that I had back? No, but they served a purpose back when I had them, when I worked in TV, radio, media, when I taught performing arts, when I was a birth doula, all the other things that I've done with my life. Those activities, those careers, those jobs I had made me who I am today. Do I miss them? Tiny bit. I mean, I don't miss them as in I want to go reach and grab them and relive them, but it makes you who you are, the past that you lived, the hobbies you had, the friends you had, where you lived, the careers you had, and even the stages of life that we go through as, with motherhood, of just being pregnant and going through pregnancy and labor and delivery, and then having a newborn, and it's an evolution. And now you have this, now that they're adults, you say, oh, well, how did that happen? It's an evolution of a deeper sense of who you want to be. And I find that it's really important that you never stop growing. I like to see myself as a constant learner. It's inspiring and compelling and engaging when you feel that you have something. But it's very common in my line of work to see that light dimmed because of divorce. It feels like you're criticized or disrespected, or you're not appreciated, and you feel that you didn't matter and your contribution to the marriage wasn't all it was cracked up to be, even if you really did live it to your greatest and highest best self. It's a feeling, it's a heaviness when you read that your spouse doesn't want to be married to you anymore, or you don't want to be married to them. Like you said, it was a matter of I'm not ready to retire. I'm a baby. No way am I sitting on a couch watching soap operas and eating bonbons. I know that's a stereotype, but I want to encourage everyone to go ahead and read your book. It's so needed and necessary work as this process of healing and transformation, of moving into the next step of your life. Not necessarily, a fresh start or a new chapter. Whatever label you want to give it, it's important that you do this work. I myself had to do it myself, and I'm still doing it. In fact, it's something we do all the way, all the time.
I think so too. And your examples with the different careers you chose, to me, there are little sparks as well.
Yep.
Is something that sparked your interest, and you said, I pursue that career. Like I said, okay, I'm going to write this book. This is what I'm going to do. So last year, I spent all year writing this book. That was my highest priority. Now I've written a book. I'm feeling very proud of myself that I'm the only one in my family who's ever written a book. Yeah. And I'm proud of the content, and I'm happy to share this with all the women around the world that are doubting themselves, that are not sure what that spark is. And with your career, it's like, oh, I've done this, but over here, I could do maybe that. That interests me a lot. And that's also how my fitness career went. So from teaching aerobics to becoming a personal trainer, to then teaching pre-postnatal classes, to along the way being an Ironman triathlete, an ultra marathon runner, a bodybuilder, as it tied in with all of this. There are all these little mini sparks along the way. Did all these sparks come with evaluating what it is that I wanted to do? Yes. Trying out many steps? Yes. Sometimes it didn't quite work out? Yes. But then I would go back and say, oh, how could I do this differently? Let's move forward with new ideas and new plans, to where we then, again, I'm always big on taking action. We take action on whatever that is, that spark that you were following, that you reiterated, and then you said, okay, now I'm keeping momentum. I got it, and I'm going for as long as I desire. As long as I choose to. Once you pick a goal or a spark, you don't have to follow it forever, like your example with the careers showed. Once you're done, you're done. Okay, moving on. Find something else that might be interesting at this time of our lives. And I like that you said that when we're looking back of what we've done, we're not starting over. We have not lost ground. We are not needing to reinvent ourselves. But we need to stay curious, as you said, and just have eyes wide open and see what else is out there for us at any stage in life.
Perfect. So I'd love you to give a little bit of practical tips or any creative ways that you know of as an author, and kudos to you as an author. I'm very proud of you. I know how hard it is to write a book. It's not
Yep.
easy. As Mark Twain says, it's easy. You just sit down and bleed at the typewriter. So I think I butchered his exact quote, but something like, it's easy to write a book. You just sit down at the typewriter and bleed. It's like, yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
much what
no.
it's like, right? When someone comes to you and is stuck and feels like they're overwhelmed with this process, they know they want to do something, but they feel it's just too overwhelming, where do they start?
They start by going quiet. They start by cutting down the noise, cutting down the friends' advice, cutting down the search on the social media, cutting down on reading self-help books. Stop all that and just sink in of what it is that you want without distraction.
Yeah.
Even if you come up with nothing, that's great. That is a new palette for you to build on. But really get quiet. And I always feel that when we look back on our childhood, there's things that we had dreamed of, that we thought, oh my God, I wanted to do that. And one of my dreams, aside from marrying a cowboy, was to travel the world. And this is still my passion. I travel as much as I can every year to different places, and my birthday is always the year where we go somewhere where I have not been to explore something new. But like I said earlier, keep your eyes wide open and get quiet. Stop the noise around you, stop the well-meant suggestions, and sit with what's coming up. And if it's nothing, it's okay. Keep moving forward. And then when you have another moment where you have a moment of clarity, or you notice, oh, I want to do this, the desire that comes up from without the overwhelm, that could be something that may be for you. Check it out, pursue it, see what happens.
Getting quiet, that is the quote of the day. It's important to not have your calendar so overbooked and full that you can rationalize that you don't have time or the energy or the money or the means in which to make something happen. If you're always over scheduling, it's important to get quiet. It's difficult to let that bubble up to the surface when you have so many other distractions in the way, whether that be television, social media, reading self-help books, or just diversions, shopping when you don't need to shop, doing things out of habituation instead of mindful choices. That really helped me too. My calendar was so chock full. I didn't have the time to sit and ponder anything. It just felt like a burden to have ideas or thoughts of other. And it also felt a little selfish, right? Which we talked about earlier about, we have to prioritize the kids and our job and our families, where eventually you say, okay, they're all set. What am I doing here? I'm still prioritizing everyone else. I've done my job here. It's a new habit. It's a learned skill, right? Getting your courage muscles up to try something new. So tell us. Go ahead.
And also think about it when we get those courage muscles. My husband always says, when I sometimes sit on the couch and I sit there and I twiddle my thumbs, and he says, what are you doing? I said, I'm bored. I got nothing to do. And he says, this is great. Don't bog yourself down with add-ons like, oh, I'm sitting here now, I have nothing to do. Now I should be cleaning the house. Now I should be reading this book. Now I should be doing all these things. Don't cover it up with all kinds of stuff so you are busy. Sit like my husband says. Just sit there. Wait it out. See what happens.
Just sit there, wait it out. Let's see what happens. Now that's a good quote. I like that one. I started to say, I want you to break down the book for us. Like, tell us a little bit about how the book is structured and the best way for people to utilize it. I'm curious about the book itself.
The book itself is an easy read, nothing complicated, no long chapters, so it's easy to read. You have two ways. You could just start from the beginning and go all the way through. Now, if you're looking into the book and you're saying, oh, I don't want to read the whole book just yet, start with the intro, go through the chapters and see what interests you the most. Go for that one.
Okay.
Or you say, oh, I want to know what Heike's Spark framework is. I want to start with a framework. Oh, that's how she recommends things, anything that we do might flow as we're going through the Spark framework. So there's these two different ways. You can read it for what you need at the moment, and if you're stuck in a roadblock, which is the R in the Spark, you may say, I'm stuck. When I had my book launch party, one of the people that came to the party, she said, I just lost my job. Can your book help me get a new job? And I said, no, it can't help you get a new job. But you go to R, the roadblock. You will find examples, stories, and steps that apply to you as a person. Maybe your habit as you get interviewed, maybe the way you present yourself when you're being interviewed, maybe how you approach the interview just overall. Just mindset tips that apply to whether you are looking at your diet, your exercise, your how to deal with family. And I said, just look at the book and see if it gives you an insight of what it is that you might want to approach a little differently or reinforce that comes from that step. We have stories from my clients, and all the names are changed and locations have changed in case that somebody reads it and says, oh yeah, I know there was Susie next door, so we don't have that. And then also my stories and my experience from the 40 years of coaching are part of the book. The book is also underlined with nutrition and fitness strategies that are 6 printable worksheets that you can pull out depending if you need it, if you're dealing with nutrition questions and not sure how to set boundaries with people pushing food on you. There's a chapter for you in there, and there's sheets of how you can approach this.
Beautiful. It's on my shopping list. I'm going to get it now. So what is the best way for people to learn more about you and follow you and of course get your book?
You can follow me anywhere on social media with my first and last name, Heike Yates, HeikeYates. You can also simply Google Pursue Your Spark. You can purchase the book anywhere where books are sold, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere else, or just go to my website, HeikeYates.com. There's also 3 links where you can purchase the book in softcover, ebook, and audiobook.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, everyone. I hope I've given you some thoughts about your future spark with Heike and I in this conversation. I'm reminiscing back to when I was contemplating doing the work I'm doing now, and I never dreamed that I would be doing the work I'm doing now, but it was a spark. I knew there was a big problem. Divorce is a $50 billion industry, and 73% of divorces initiated or filed by women, and 2 years is the average amount of time that women think about divorce before they tell anyone. And what happens during that period of time for most is their spark diminishes. Their flame goes out. They feel stuck, trapped, burdened, overwhelmed, stressed, fearful. And I said, wait. After what I went through with 8.5 years of a divorce, I knew there had to be a better way. And I said, I'm going to create a better way. And here I am many years later helping I've lost count, hundreds of couples and thousands of individuals go through divorce better. So thank you for listening. Thank you, Heike. I love your book. I love your story, your passion. It's obvious that you're enthusiastic and lit up about the work you do, helping others regain their spark. So I hope this has been a fun conversation. We haven't really talked about any of the horrible, stuff of divorce today. I try not to make it any worse than it has to be. So if you need help, you know how to find me, Paulette at betterdivorceacademy.com. And of course, betterdivorceacademy.com is my site. I look forward to helping anyone. And until next time, I'll see you soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye, Heike. Thank you.
Bye, Paulette. Thank you.